They fired on Earth's diplomats. Not knowing a Navy SEAL was among them, the diplomatic shuttle Harmony drifted silently through the void between Jupiter's moons, carrying Earth's most important peace delegation in over a century. Ambassador Sarah Chun reviewed her notes one final time, knowing that the next few hours would determine whether humanity joined the Galactic Federation or remained isolated in their corner of space. The alien races have been watching Earth for decades, evaluating whether humans deserved a place among the stars. After years of negotiations, this meeting would finally decide humanity's fate. The delegation consisted of 5 carefully chosen representatives. Ambassador Chun, a seasoned diplomat who had negotiated treaties across 3 continents. Dr. Marcus Webb, humanity's leading xenobiologist. Professor Elena Vasquez, an expert in interstellar law. Captain James Morrison, a decorated military officer chosen to represent Earth's defense forces, and Lieutenant Commander David Ghost Patterson, whose presence was officially listed as additional security. What the aliens didn't know was that Patterson wasn't just any security officer. He was a Navy SEAL with 20 years of experience in the most dangerous missions Earth had ever conducted. His weathered face and calm demeanor masked a mind trained for warfare and survival in impossible situations. Patterson had volunteered for this mission not because he believed in peace, but because he understood the stakes if diplomacy failed. The Harmony approached the massive alien construct known as Station Nexus, a spinning wheel of metal and crystal that served as neutral ground for interspecies meetings. The station was enormous, easily the size of small moon, with docking bays that could accommodate ships from dozens of different civilizations. As they drew closer, Patterson studied the tactical layout through the viewport, automatically noting defensive positions and escape routes despite the peaceful nature of their mission. First contact with an alien confederation, Dr. Webb muttered, pressing his face against the observation port. This is what we've dreamed about since we first looked up at the stars. Ambassador Chun smiled warmly. Let's hope they're as eager for peaceful relations as we are. Patterson said nothing, but his trained eyes caught something the others missed. 3 sleek warships hung in the shadows behind the station, their weapons powered down but ready. The Zephyrian fleet, according to their briefing materials. The Zephyrians had been humanity's strongest opponents in joining the Federation, claiming the humans were too violent and unpredictable for civilized space. As the shuttle docked with Station Nexus, Patterson felt the familiar weight of his sidearm concealed beneath his dress uniform. Officially, weapons weren't allowed during diplomatic meetings, but 20 years of missions had taught him that rules meant nothing when bullets started flying. The other delegates carried tablets and briefcases. Patterson carried death, professionally packaged and ready for delivery. The docking bay doors hissed open, revealing a breathtaking sight. Representatives from 12 different alien species waited to greet them, each more exotic than the last. The ethereal council members floated in containment suits, their gaseous forms shimmering with bioluminescent patterns. The rock-like Granite Collective stood motionless as mountains, while the insectoid hive queens clicked and chittered in their own complex language. But it was the Zephyrians who caught Patterson's attention immediately. Tall, elegant beings with silver skin and predatory eyes, they carried themselves with the arrogance of a superior military force. Their leader, Fleet Commander Zektar, watched the human delegation with barely concealed disdain. "Welcome, humans of Earth," announced the station's AI in perfect English. "You have been granted safe passage to participate in the Federation Evaluation Council. Your species' application for membership will be heard and judged according to galactic law." Ambassador Chun stepped forward, her voice carrying across the massive bay. "We come in peace, seeking friendship and cooperation among the stars. Humanity offers our knowledge, our culture, and our commitment to galactic harmony." Fleet Commander Zektar made a sound that might have been laughter. "Harmony? Your species has waged war continuously for your entire recorded history. You bring weapons to a peace meeting. You speak of cooperation while your military expands into our space." Patterson's hand didn't move toward his weapon, but every muscle in his body tensed. The Zephyrian commander wasn't just making diplomatic protests. His words carried the tone of someone building justification for action. The formal procession began, with each delegation moving through corridors lined with crystalline windows, showing the majesty of space beyond. Patterson walked slightly behind the other humans, his eyes constantly scanning for threats while maintaining the appearance of a simple security escort. What none of them knew was that Fleet Commander Zektar had already made his decision. Hidden in the station's superstructure, his soldiers waited for the signal. The Zephyrians would eliminate the human delegation and claim they had discovered weapons smuggling. With the humans dead, there would be no one to contradict their story. As they entered the Great Council chamber, Patterson felt the weight of destiny settling around them. In the next few hours, humanity would either take its place among the stars or be branded as a terrorist species unfit for galactic civilization. The trap was already set. The only question was whether anyone would survive to spring it. They fired on Earth's diplomats. Not knowing a Navy SEAL was among them, the Grand Council chamber was a marvel of alien architecture, with curved walls that seemed to bend reality itself. Floating platforms arranged in concentric circles allowed each species to present their arguments from positions suited to their biology. The human delegation was escorted to a modest platform near the outer ring, a subtle reminder of their status as applicants rather than members. Patterson positioned himself where he could watch both the human delegates and the exit routes. His tactical mind automatically cataloged the chamber's weaknesses: too many blind spots, multiple levels that could hide attackers, and only 3 main exits. Whoever had designed this place for diplomacy had never considered defensive positions. Ambassador Chun began humanity's presentation with grace and confidence. She spoke of Earth's scientific achievements, cultural diversity, and commitment to peaceful exploration. Dr. Webb followed with detailed proposals for sharing human medical knowledge and agricultural techniques that could benefit worlds throughout the galaxy. Professor Vasquez outlined legal frameworks for human integration into existing galactic law. The alien representatives listened with varying degrees of interest. The ethereal council's gaseous forms pulsed with what their translation devices indicated was approval. The Hive Queen's compound eyes tracked every movement while their mandibles clicked in rapid calculation. But the Zephyrians sat in cold silence. Fleet Commander Zektar's silver features twisted in obvious disgust. "Your presentation is most illuminating," announced High Counselor Vextai of the Crystalline Dominion, his voice resonating through mineral vocal cords. However, concerns have been raised about humanity's violent nature. "Fleet Commander Zektar, you wish to address these concerns." Zektar rose from his platform with predatory grace. "Indeed, while these humans speak sweetly of peace, their actions tell a different story. Even now, they bring weapons to this sacred gathering. They demonstrate the very aggression that makes them unfit for civilized space." Captain Morrison stood to respond. "Fleet Commander, I assure you that our delegation carries only standard diplomatic security. We have no intention of lies." Zektar's voice echoed through the chamber. "Search them. You will find instruments of war hidden beneath their peaceful words." Patterson felt the trap closing around them. This wasn't random paranoia. The Zephyrians had planned this accusation, probably planted evidence, and were now maneuvering to justify whatever came next. His eyes swept the chamber again, noting how Zephyrian security forces had quietly moved to block the exits during the presentation. High Counselor Vextai's crystalline form dimmed with what appeared to be disappointment. "These are serious allegations. By Federation law, we must investigate any claims of weapons violations during diplomatic proceedings." The chamber's security scanners activated without warning, their beams sweeping over the human delegation. Alarms immediately began blaring as the devices detected Patterson's concealed sidearm. Red warning lights bathed the chamber in an ominous glow, while automated voices announced the weapons violation in 12 different languages. "Seize them," Zektar shouted, his mask of diplomacy finally falling away. "The humans have brought weapons to corrupt our peaceful gathering. They are spies and terrorists." Ambassador Chen raised her hands in a gesture of surrender. "Please, there must be some mistake. We can explain." The first energy blast silenced her words forever. Zektar's personal weapon discharged with a brilliant flash, striking Chun's center mass and vaporizing her where she stood. Dr. Webb screamed in horror as the ambassador's atoms scattered like burning snow across the chamber floor. No witnesses, Zektar commanded his soldiers. The humans attacked first. We acted in self-defense. Energy weapons discharged from multiple platforms as Zephyrian soldiers opened fire on the remaining delegates. Professor Vasquez fell with a cry of pain, her chest smoking from a direct hit. Captain Morrison drew his ceremonial sword and charged the nearest platform, only to be cut down by crossfire before he could take 3 steps. Dr. Webb huddled behind their platform's podium, sobbing in terror as energy blasts scorched the air around him. "Please, we came in peace. This is murder." But Patterson was no longer there. The moment the first shot was fired, 20 years of combat training took over. Patterson rolled off the platform into the shadows below, his body moving with fluid precision while his mind shifted into what his instructors had called the zone. Time seemed to slow as his enhanced situational awareness cataloged every threat, every opportunity, every possible escape route. The Zephyrians had made their first mistake. They assumed that because humans were new to galactic civilization, they would be easy prey. They had never faced a predator trained in Earth's most elite military unit. Patterson's sidearm appeared in his hand as if by magic, the familiar weight grounding him in the chaos. The weapon was human-made, using chemically propelled projectiles that the alien scanners had misidentified. What they thought was a simple energy weapon was actually something far more dangerous, a tool designed by a species that had perfected the art of killing its own kind. His first shot took down the Zephyrian soldier who had killed Captain Morrison. The projectile punched through the alien's energy shield as if it were paper, the kinetic impact dropping him from his platform to crash onto the chamber floor 20 feet below. The second shot eliminated the sniper who had been lining up Dr. Webb for execution. The remaining Zephyrians whirled in confusion, their energy weapons searching for a target that seemed to disappear and reappear like a ghost. Patterson had become one with the shadows of the chamber, using the aliens' own architecture against them. Every pillar, every curve, every blind spot became part of his weapon. "Where is he?" Zektar snarled into his communicator. "Find a human. Kill him." But Patterson was already moving, his training allowing him to think 3 moves ahead of his enemies. The Zephyrians had superior numbers and technology, but they had never learned to fight dirty. They had never faced an enemy who viewed rules as suggestions and honor as a luxury the dead couldn't afford. Dr. Webb was still alive, cowering behind the podium as energy blasts lit up the chamber. Patterson's mission parameters were crystal clear: protect the delegation, complete the objective, survive if possible. 2 out of 3 wasn't bad odds for a SEAL. The real fight was about to begin. They fired on Earth's diplomats. Not knowing a Navy SEAL was among them, Patterson materialized from the chamber's shadows like death given form. His third shot caught a Zephyrian soldier in the throat, sending the alien spinning off his platform in a spray of silver blood. The fourth shot destroyed the chamber's main lighting control, plunging most of the space into darkness broken only by the eerie glow of alien technology. Thermal imaging. Switch to thermal. Zektar screamed at his remaining forces. The human cannot hide from heat sensors, but Patterson had already anticipated that move. During his years of special operations, he had learned to regulate his body temperature through controlled breathing and meditation techniques. What registered on their sensors wasn't the heat signature of a living human, but something closer to ambient temperature. The Zephyrians found themselves shooting at shadows while their real target moved like a phantom through their ranks. The other alien delegates watched in stunned silence as the chamber erupted into warfare. The ethereal council's gaseous forms swirled in agitation, while the granite collective stood motionless, their rocky bodies providing natural cover from the energy blasts. The Hive Queen's compound eyes tracked Patterson's movements with fascination, their insectoid minds analyzing combat patterns they had never encountered before. High Counselor Vexed Eyes' crystalline form pulsed with alarm. "Cease fire. This is a violation of all diplomatic protocols. Fleet Commander Zektar, explain your actions." "The humans attacked first." Zektar lied smoothly, even as he ducked behind his platform to avoid Patterson's return fire. "They brought weapons to corrupt our peaceful assembly. We are defending ourselves against human aggression." But several of the alien witnesses had recorded the entire incident. The truth was preserved in their memory banks and sensor logs. The Zephyrians had fired first, executing unarmed diplomats in cold blood. Whatever Zektar's plan had been, it was falling apart under the withering accuracy of a single human soldier. Patterson's fifth shot disabled the chamber's security lockdown, causing the massive doors to grind open. Fresh air cycled through the space, carrying with it new tactical possibilities. His sixth shot eliminated another Zephyrian sniper who had been trying to get a clear line on Dr. Webb. "Sir," Dr. Webb called out from behind his meager cover. "I'm not hurt. What do you need me to do?" The scientist's courage surprised Patterson. Most civilians would have been paralyzed with terror, but Webb was thinking tactically, ready to follow orders despite the chaos around him. It was a very human response to impossible odds. "Stay low, stay quiet," Patterson replied, his voice carrying clearly across the chamber despite the ongoing firefight. "When I give the signal, move for the emergency exit behind the Crystalline Dominion's platform. Don't look back. Don't help me, just run." Zektar had managed to rally his remaining soldiers into defensive positions. Energy weapons lit up the chamber as they laid down suppressing fire, trying to pin Patterson in place long enough for reinforcements to arrive. But they were still thinking like traditional military forces, expecting their enemy to behave according to established tactical doctrine. Patterson disappeared again, this time scaling the chamber's curved wall using maintenance handholds that were barely visible in the darkness. His seventh shot came from above, taking out the Zephyrian communications officer and severing their link to fleet reinforcements. The eighth shot destroyed their portable shield generator, leaving them exposed to return fire. "Impossible," one of the Zephyrian soldiers gasped. "How does he move so quickly? How does he see in the dark?" They didn't understand that Patterson wasn't just fighting with superior training. He was fighting with the accumulated knowledge of a species that had been perfecting warfare for millennia. Every technique he used had been paid for in human blood across countless battlefields. The Zephyrians had technology, but humans had learned to win wars with nothing but determination and tactical brilliance. Fleet Commander Zektar's silver features twisted with rage as he watched his carefully planned ambush collapse. His forces had been specifically chosen for this mission, veterans of a dozen campaigns against primitive worlds. They were supposed to be eliminating a handful of defenseless diplomats, not fighting a one-man war against an enemy who seemed to anticipate their every move. "Fall back to the secondary positions," he ordered. "Seal the chamber and flood it with poison gas. We'll claim the humans released biological weapons." But Patterson had heard the command through his enhanced audio pickups. His ninth shot shattered the gas release mechanism before it could activate, sending toxic clouds venting harmlessly into space through the chamber's emergency systems. His 10th shot punched through Zektar's personal armor, clipping the fleet commander's shoulder and spinning him around behind his cover. The Hive Queen, designated Zek-T, clicked her mandibles in what her translator identified as excitement. "Fascinating. The human fights with patterns unknown to our tactical databases. Each action serves multiple purposes. Each shot eliminates threats while creating new advantages." High Counselor Vexdai's form had shifted to a deep purple that indicated profound concern. "Fleet Commander Zektar, your forces are firing on diplomatic representatives under Federation protection. These actions constitute war crimes under 17 different galactic codes. The humans started this." Zektar snarled, pressing a medical patch to his wounded shoulder. "They came here to spy on our technologies, to steal our secrets. We had no choice but to defend ourselves." But even as he spoke, more alien witnesses were accessing their sensor recordings. The evidence was mounting against his version of events. Several species had already begun transmitting the real story to their home worlds, where human defenders would soon have allies they never expected. Patterson checked his ammunition count. 6 rounds remaining. 12 enemies were still active, with reinforcements potentially on the way. By any reasonable tactical assessment, the situation was hopeless. But Patterson had never been reasonable, and hope was a luxury that soldiers couldn't afford. Time to show the galaxy what happened when you murdered Earth's diplomats. Hashtag they fired on Earth's diplomats. Not knowing a Navy SEAL was among them, Patterson's 11th shot wasn't aimed at an enemy soldier. Instead, he targeted the chamber's artificial gravity generator, causing the entire space to shift into microgravity. The remaining Zephyrians found themselves floating helplessly as their tactical formations dissolved into chaos. But Patterson had trained extensively in zero-G combat, his movements flowing like a deadly ballet as he used the walls and ceiling as launch points. The 12th shot eliminated the Zephyrian soldier who had been trying to manually activate the poison gas system. The 13th took out another sniper who had been drawing a bead on Dr. Webb. 2 rounds remaining, and 11 enemies still active. "Now, Doc," Patterson called out. "Move." Dr. Webb launched himself toward the emergency exit with surprising grace, his scientific mind quickly adapting to the changed gravity conditions. But one of the Zephyrian soldiers anticipated his movement, bringing up an energy rifle to cut him down before he could escape. Patterson's 14th shot saved the scientist's life, the projectile striking the Zephyrian's weapon and causing it to explode in his hands. Burning plasma scattered across the chamber as the alien screamed in agony, his silver skin blistering from the energy feedback. 1 shot left, 10 enemies remaining. But Patterson had learned long ago that bullets weren't the only weapons a SEAL carried. His knife appeared in his left hand as he pushed off from the chamber's ceiling, diving toward the nearest group of Zephyrian soldiers like a human missile. The blade found the gap in the first alien's armor, sliding between ribs to pierce vital organs. The soldier's dying breath misted in the zero gravity as Patterson used the body as a shield against return fire. Fleet Commander Zektar watched in horror as the human warrior moved through his elite forces like a force of nature. These soldiers had conquered primitive worlds across 3-star systems, but they were being systematically destroyed by a single enemy who seemed to anticipate their every move. "What is this creature?" Zektar whispered to himself. "How does he fight like this?" High Counselor Vextai had been analyzing the combat through the chamber sensor arrays, his crystalline mind processing tactical data at superhuman speeds. "Fleet Commander, your opponent is not using standard military doctrine. His fighting style incorporates elements we have never encountered. He adapts faster than our tactical computers can calculate countermeasures." The Hive Queen Zekti's compound eyes tracked Patterson's movements with growing excitement. The human fights as the swarm fights, but alone. Each action flows into the next like segments of a single organism. This is evolution in motion. Patterson had acquired the dead Zephyrian's energy weapon, but he discarded it after a quick examination. The alien technology required specific genetic markers to operate, built-in safeguards to prevent captured weapons from being used against their creators. Instead, he pulled 3 fragmentation grenades from the soldier's equipment belt. The Zephyrians had made another critical error. Their equipment was designed to be foolproof, with simple activation sequences that any soldier could use under combat stress. But they had never considered that an enemy might capture and repurpose their own weapons. The first grenade detonated in the center of the largest group of Zephyrian soldiers, the explosion magnified by the chamber's enclosed environment. Shrapnel carved through their energy shields like they were tissue paper, dropping 4 more enemies in a cloud of silver blood and burning metal. Patterson's last bullet found Fleet Commander Zektar as the alien leader tried to retreat toward his personal shuttle. The shot wasn't fatal, but it shattered the Zephyrian's knee joint and sent him tumbling through the zero gravity toward the chamber's far wall. The remaining 5 Zephyrian soldiers had finally adapted to the microgravity environment, using their magnetic boots to anchor themselves while they coordinated their attack. Energy weapons discharged in perfect synchronization, their combined firepower designed to overwhelm any possible defense. But Patterson was no longer where their targeting systems expected him to be. He had used the second grenade to propel himself sideways through the chamber superstructure, the explosion providing thrust while the shrapnel created a smokescreen that confused their sensors. By the time their shots reached his previous position, he was already behind them. The third grenade ended the firefight. Patterson had modified its detonation sequence using techniques learned in dozens of hostile environments, turning it into a directed blast weapon that channeled most of its energy toward the remaining Zephyrian soldiers. The explosion lifted them off their magnetic anchors and slammed them into the chamber's crystalline walls with bone-crushing force. Silence fell over the Grand Council chamber, broken only by the hiss of atmospheric recyclers and the distant groan of damaged superstructure. Patterson floated in the center of the space, surrounded by the aftermath of a battle that had lasted less than 10 minutes, but would reshape galactic politics for generations to come. Dr. Webb's voice crackled over the communication system from the emergency exit. "Commander Patterson, are you still alive?" Patterson's response was calm and professional, as if he had just completed a routine training exercise rather than single-handedly defeating an elite alien military unit. "Affirmative, Doctor. Area is secure. Recommend immediate medical assistance for wounded aliens and forensic preservation of the crime scene." Fleet Commander Zektar groaned from where he had impacted against the chamber wall, his silver blood spreading in perfect spheres through the zero gravity. His carefully planned massacre had been turned into evidence of Zephyrian war crimes, preserved in the sensor logs of a dozen alien species. High Counselor Vextai's crystalline form pulsed with what his species called profound recognition. For the first time, the galactic community understood what humanity truly represented. Not a primitive species to be dismissed or eliminated, but something entirely new, a race that had learned to turn any situation, no matter how hopeless, into a tactical advantage. The real implications of first contact were just beginning to unfold. They fired on Earth's diplomats. Not knowing a Navy SEAL was among them. The emergency medical teams that arrived at the Grand Council chamber 47 minutes later found a scene that would be analyzed by military strategists for decades. Zephyrian soldiers, equipped with the galaxy's most advanced combat technology, had been systematically defeated by a single human using improvised tactics and captured weapons. The tactical brilliance of the engagement was matched only by its political implications. Fleet Commander Zektar was taken into custody by Federation security forces, his shoulder wound, treated under guard, while criminal charges were prepared. The alien commander's eyes never left Patterson as the medical teams worked, his expression mixing pain with something approaching respect. "Ow," Zektar asked as Patterson supervised the evidence collection. "My soldiers were veterans of 12 campaigns. They had superior numbers, superior technology, superior positioning. How did one human defeat them all?" Patterson looked down at the wounded alien, his expression unchanged from the calm professionalism he had maintained throughout the battle. "You made a fundamental error in your tactical assessment, Fleet Commander. You assumed that because humans were new to galactic civilization, we were also new to warfare." High Counselor Vextai's crystalline form approached them, his mineral body still pulsing with the deep purple of profound contemplation. "Commander Patterson, your species' application for Federation membership has been complicated by these events. While you clearly acted in self-defense, many Council members are now concerned about humanity's military capabilities." Dr. Webb, who had returned once the chamber was declared secure, stepped forward with surprising confidence. "High Counselor, if I may address the Council's concerns. What you witnessed today wasn't aggression. It was protection. Commander Patterson didn't start this fight, but he finished it to save lives. That's what humans do. We protect those who cannot protect themselves." The Hive Queen Zekti clicked her mandibles in agreement. The human speaks truth. The warrior's actions followed precise, defensive patterns. Each engagement was calculated to neutralize threats while minimizing casualties. Even his enemies received medical attention once combat ended. Indeed, Patterson had personally administered first aid to 3 wounded Zephyrian soldiers, his combat medical training taking over once the immediate threat was eliminated. The sight of humanity's deadliest warrior carefully bandaging his enemy's wounds had profoundly impacted the alien observers. The ethereal council member, designated Vashti, spoke through her translation matrix, her gaseous form shimmering with complex emotional patterns. "We have reviewed all sensor data from the engagement. The human-designated Ghost demonstrated tactical innovation beyond our current military models. His fighting methods suggest evolutionary adaptation to extreme survival pressures." 20 years of military service, Patterson confirmed. "My species has been at war with itself for most of recorded history. We've learned to survive situations that would be considered impossible by conventional tactical analysis." This revelation sent ripples through the assembled alien representatives. Most galactic species had achieved spaceflight after achieving planetary unity. The concept of a civilization that had mastered advanced technology while still engaged in global warfare was alien to their experience. Fleet Commander Zektar laughed bitterly from his medical stretcher. You see, this is why humans cannot be trusted. They admit to being a warrior species. They will bring their violence to corrupt our peaceful galaxy. But High Counselor Vextai's response surprised everyone present. Fleet Commander, your actions here today have demonstrated more violence than humanity has shown in 50 years of peaceful contact attempts. You murdered unarmed diplomats. You attempted to cover up war crimes with false accusations. You represent everything that the Federation was created to prevent. Dr. Webb pulled up a holographic display showing Earth's recent history. High Counselor, humanity's greatest achievement isn't our military prowess. It's the fact that we're learning to turn our warriors into protectors. Commander Patterson could have killed every Zephyrian in this chamber, but he chose to disable and capture instead. That choice represents our species' evolution from conquest to guardianship. The display showed statistical data that shocked the alien observers. Global warfare on Earth had decreased by 97% over the past century. Military forces were increasingly focused on disaster relief, humanitarian assistance, and protection of civilian populations. The transformation from a purely aggressive species to one that used violence only as a last resort represented an evolutionary leap that few civilizations had achieved. Patterson studied the faces of the alien delegates, reading their expressions with the same tactical precision he had used during the firefight. High Counselor, the Federation faces threats that peaceful species cannot handle alone. Pirates, slave traders, hostile civilizations that view diplomacy as weakness. Your current military forces are designed to maintain order among species that respect galactic law. He gestured toward the evidence of the recent battle. But what happens when you encounter enemies that don't respect any law except force? What happens when peaceful solutions fail and civilians need protection? The question hung in the chamber's recycled air like a challenge to everything the Federation represented. For centuries, galactic civilization had been built on the assumption that violence was an evolutionary dead end, that any species capable of interstellar travel would naturally embrace peaceful coexistence. Humanity represented something different, a species that had mastered both violence and peace, that could choose between them based on circumstances rather than instinct. It was a capability that terrified some species while offering hope to others. Hive Queen Zekti spoke for many when she announced her decision. The collective votes to approve humanity's Federation membership with full military partnership rights. The human warrior has demonstrated that his species possesses both the strength to defend the innocent and the wisdom to show mercy to enemies. These qualities are precisely what our Confederation requires. One by one, the other species announced their votes. The Ethereal Council, the Granite Collective, even the normally isolationist Crystalline Dominion voted in favor of human membership. Only the Zephyrian delegation abstained, their vote invalidated by their war crimes conviction. As the formal ceremonies began, Dr. Webb approached Patterson with a question that had been bothering him throughout the proceedings. Commander, when you volunteered for this mission, did you know this might happen? Patterson's answer reflected the hard-earned wisdom of 2 decades in special operations. Doctor, in my experience, diplomatic missions only stay peaceful when everyone knows there's a price for breaking the peace. The Zephyrians thought they could murder us with impunity because they assumed humans were weak. He looked out through the chamber's crystal windows at the vast expanse of space, where human ships would soon patrol alongside alien allies. They learned otherwise. The galaxy just learned that humanity doesn't start fights, but we finish them. That knowledge will prevent more conflicts than any peace treaty ever could. As Earth's newest member of the Galactic Federation, humanity had gained more than just access to advanced technology and interstellar trade. They had earned recognition as the galaxy's guardians, the species other civilizations would call when peaceful solutions failed and protection was needed. The age of human expansion into the galaxy had begun, not through conquest, but through demonstrated ability to protect those who could not protect themselves. And throughout the galaxy, potential aggressors would now think twice before threatening the innocent. After all, they never knew when a Navy SEAL might be watching.